in the same order they spoke. Just to let you know, they'll all be signing copies of their books if you want to buy them on the stall outside, just outside these stalls in the foyer. We do have to leave the room because there's a play in here straight after this meeting. So first of all, I'll bring back Alex.
Well, it's frustrating because there's so many different points that have come up, and I'm just going to deal with three questions. First of all, Dushko, I'm absolutely with you in demonstrating against NATO. I'm absolutely not with you when it comes to defending the old Stalinist regime before 1989. The worst, for people who are real communists like us, to quote a book by Negri and Deleuze, the biggest problem that communists like us have is the heritage of the Stalinist regimes, and we have to insist there's an absolute difference what we're fighting for and the old regimes. That's one point. Secondly, Slavoj, you really, all this stuff about intellectual property and immaterial labour, honestly, it's a total dead end. Don't go near it. Honestly, I mean, stop. Bill Gates, at the minute, Apple has overtaken Microsoft in terms of stock market value. What does Apple sell? It doesn't sell software. It crucially isn't to do with intellectual property. It sells things. It sells very nice things, computers and iPhones and things like that. It produces material goods that are made by those workers in Foxconn. All this stuff about immaterial labour, what Marx shows is that under capitalism, all labour is immaterial. And John is very good about this in his new book, Capitalism, because all the work that we do is subject to the imperative logic of competition. That means that our work, our productivity is constantly being compared with the productivity and work of workers in other workplaces. We're subject, in other words, our concrete labour is transformed into the abstract labour, which is the source of the profits that drive the system. That's the critical thing about Marx's theory of value. And all this stuff about services and immaterial goods and immaterial labour is a total waste of time. And you should just get away from that, Slavoj, because it's a big mistake. Final point to do with what John said. The picture that you paint, John, is incredibly inspiring. But the problem is that logic, that remorseless logic of capitalist competition, the logic of abstract labour, constantly seeks to crush and to close those cracks. And the only way we can keep those cracks open and widen them is to establish a different social logic. And to do that, we need power. And the thing that I think I disagree with both of you about this. I don't think that power is reduced to what we could do when we could make a garden or form some better way of living, which people do all the time. And I don't think power, alternatively, is just a matter of the existing state. I think there's a third form of power that comes when people organise collectively to resist their exploitation. And out of that power, we can get a different way of running the world. And that's what will produce communism.
I'm sorry. I mean, there was such an, if not overload of anti-capitalism, at least overload of questions, and one cannot answer them all. So at least I would like to limit myself at least to answer the two of you, main point. First, as it was already noted, that metaphor of the garden, keep capital out. I would also say there is nothing new. Every capitalist system needs as its inherent component something like this. In traditional capitalism, yet capital stay out of the family, capital stay out of the church, and so on. A kind of a space outside. I think, so for me, okay, let me develop that. The problem is, okay, garden, everything nice, okay. Let's say there are drug dealers in that garden, there are women beaten, and so on. What would you have done? Sorry to tell you, I would have called the police. If not, I would have organized very brutal thugs to keep violent people out. I'm sorry to tell you. Or let me go a step further. We have not only a gardener, but a group of farmers putting together an efficient cooperative. Then, of course, the capitalist farmers don't just look and send us a telegram with best wishes. They organize a sabotage here and there to prove how a thing like this cannot function. What would you have done? I would have organized a counter-terror. I'm sorry to tell you. Having a couple of them burning there, maybe if they kill one of us, kill three of us, and so on. I'm sorry to tell you this. Like Chavez now, I have great problems with Chavez. But as it is clear now, I was convinced by statement by Lawrence Eagleburger and so on, that this lack of food temporary in Venezuela, again, I'm not totally defending Chavez. I'm referring to a very specific phenomenon of, it can be proven beyond reasonable doubt, that the lack of food in these state-run stores in Venezuela is not just the spontaneity of the market where out of self-interest merchants or distributors operate like this. It's part of an orchestrated nature of the United States connected with local saboteurs. What do you do here? I'm sorry to tell you, a limited amount of state terror is totally justified to me. You put police on them, you use secret police, you smash them, and so on. Otherwise, sorry, then step down from power. Because, you know, you use this wonderful poetic expression that you had all these gardens went wider, and then Morales, you used the nice term, brought this to a logical conclusion. What is the logical conclusion? All Bolivia didn't become a garden, but the logical conclusion was that the left took power, controls police, controls up to a point. I know of the tension, the army and so on, which is why, to refer to your example, the gardens, if I don't take the term garden in this isolated sense of where you go, but the gardens, let's call them cracks, liberated territories, are, I hope, much safer because of this. Because you can count on the police, that instead of annoying you, it will maybe even protect you. So I absolutely agree with both of you that because nonetheless we all share, I hope, something, that power is not just state power. What really matters is local self-organization, or rather productive self-organization, and so on and so on. I just have my doubts, and this is the problem of councils and so on. To what extent can this local self-organization model be universalized? I think that we simply have to confront the problem of power. This is one thing. The second thing, very quickly, as to this Marxist, because they call it counter-attack, Greek made cynical my idea of overload. No, I was talking about propaganda in the wealthiest Western countries where, my God, listen, look at Hollywood. It's almost difficult to find a movie having anything to do with business which doesn't in a ridiculous way portray a bad egotist capitalist, and there are no limits here. Remember that stupid second John Grisham movie, Pelican Brief, where even the evil capitalist is connected with the President of the United States. My problem is not, oh, you see, we are only anti-capitalism. No. My problem is why even such ideological topics, which appear very radical, really threaten no one, only make the system more